like technically and emotionally. It's really good. It is a straight portal fantasy. Well, it's not straight, there's a lot of queer characters in the series. I have such a mental and physical, emotional, everything connection to this book. Now, this is hard. Hello my angels, welcome back to another video. My name is Ro and today we are doing my 2021 5-star reads battle bracket. So earlier on this week you should have seen my video. I will pop it up in the corner if you have not yet, but I went through my top 10 reads of the year according to me, myself and I, my vibes, but then also looking at my core pile ratings and see how the top 10 differed. If you are interested in the rest of my 5-star reads, which I did not go through on that video, then today is the perfect video for you because I had 22 5-star reads in 2021 and today we're gonna go through all of them. Not in too much detail, especially my top 10 because I have already gone through them meticulously, but we will be mentioning my other 5-star reads, and if you do like the look of the cover, I guess, or the couple of comments that I make, then you can look them up. But most of them are pretty, I'd say, well known. So I'm just gonna dive right in. All of this has been pre-generated for me, so everything that's on my screen right now, what is versus what, has not been in any way biased by me. I have not picked what is versus each other. It has all been generated for me when I put in the book covers into the website. I will link the website down below. It is actually linked to the tier ranking website. They also have a bracket website, which is the same kind of thing, but with brackets instead of tier ranking, obviously. So without further ado, I mean, let's just dive right in. I'm excited to see what I'm going to come out with as number one. So I'm going to put my laptop up here so that I can like talk to you properly whilst I do this. The first one I'm going to start from the top left and go down, and then I'm going to go for the top right and go down. So the first one that I can see is in fact Fellowship of the Ring versus Jade War. These are very different books. Obviously Lord of the Rings is a classic fantasy written in the 1950s. Jade War is a very modern, different type of fantasy. It's a very more historical fiction fantasy set in an Asian setting as well. Very, very different. Obviously these are all 5 stars, so I can't really go off those kind of ratings. And Fellowship of the Ring actually was not in my top 10. When I think about Fellowship of the Ring versus Jade War, I'm trying not to let my bias and nostalgia hit me here from the Lord of the Rings movies because I do have a really strong connection to those, as do a lot of people my age. Since Jade War actually was in my top 10, thinking about it, I definitely did have a really good time with Jade War, and the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, even though I did give it 5 stars, there was a lot of singing, which I was not really here for. So I think I am actually going to pick Jade War for that. Okay, moving down we have Over the Woodward Wall, which is the spin-off middle grade of Middle Game, versus The Well of Ascension. Now, neither of these were in my top 10. I really love Over the Woodward Wall, but Well of Ascension is such a well-crafted book that I kind of feel like it's gonna win here, because Over the Woodward Wall, as much as I love it, I think I love it and give it 5 stars because of my connection to Middle Game, rather than them being actually very good books by themselves. So I think I am gonna have to pick Well of Ascension here. Those are two quite hard brackets for me, I think. I'm not sure whether to move on and do Jade War versus Well of Ascension now. I think I will, because we may as well stay on the same books that we've been talking about. So now we do have Jade War versus Well of Ascension. I personally think, even though the ending of Well of Ascension is fantastic, there was like a slow part in the middle, and Jade War was good all the way through for me. So I think I'm gonna pick Jade War there. So we now have Kingdom of Flesh and Fire versus Docile, and this is actually a very easy pick for me. Docile is very good. It was like number 4 on my top 10, and Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, even though it was a 5 star, it's more of like a smutty, romancy 5 star, and I don't read a lot of that. It's not going to beat Docile, if we are honest here. Moving on downwards, we have Middle Game versus The Last Graduate. Now, The Last Graduate is the sequel to A Deadly Education. I really enjoyed it. I gave both the first and the second book 5 stars. It's a very Marmite book. I feel like a lot of people don't like it, but I really enjoy the writing style, and I just really like Naomi Novik in general. So, unfortunately, Middle Game for me is gonna beat this out. I wouldn't say fairly easily, because I did really enjoy The Last Graduate and I flew through it. But Middle Game stuck with me more, so I think Middle Game is gonna win this one. Middle Game versus Docile is actually quite a hard thing, because Docile, again, it really stuck with me. I flew through it. I feel very attached to it, but Middle Game, I think, edges it out because of the confusingness of it, and that is what I like in books, so I am gonna pick Middle Game for that one. Now, going back up, we now have Middle Game versus Jade War. Unfortunately, Middle Game is gonna win this one. Now, I don't want this to be like Middle Game all the way till the end, like perfect, amazing. There are a few books I think that can give it a run for its money. I think Docile definitely is one of those, and I'm interested to see if it actually wins overall when I think about it a bit more. And also, having now found out what my core pile ratings are, will that affect how I feel about this? But Middle Game versus Jade War, Middle Game is winning. Let's move down here now. We have Hollowpox versus Beneath the Sugar Sky. Now, Beneath the Sugar Sky was one of the lower rated, technically it's still a 5 star, but lower rated on core pile for me for Every Heart a Doorway or the Wayward Children series. And definitely I think Hollowpox beats that, because Hollowpox was just a very good book. It's one of my favorite middle grade series, and well, it kind of is my only middle grade series that I've read, modern ones anyway, and it is just my fave, so Hollowpox is gonna have to win there. I did have one left over here, which was Every Heart a Doorway, so that kind of has to win against 0 here, but when we do have Hollowpox versus Every Heart a Doorway, I am gonna have to pick Every Heart a Doorway, which means Every Heart a Doorway isn't versus anything else, because I didn't have enough 5-star reads, so this means that Every Heart a Doorway kind of isn't versus anything, and it gets all the way up to next to Middle Game. Now, this is hard. Oh fuck, they're both by Shauna Maguire. I have a tattoo of Every Heart a Doorway. That is how close to my heart it is. I think I may have to pick Every Heart a Doorway here over Middle Game. Like, thinking about it, the way, like, the amount of feelings this book made me feel over Middle Game, which I did have a lot of feelings about, but I did not cry at all. I felt for the characters, but thinking about, like, I'm talking this out now, Every Heart a Doorway is gonna have to win that, which is crazy to me. I feel like it's gonna be now Every Heart a Doorway versus In an Absent Dream. I feel like that's what's gonna happen. But I like to talk through my other reads with you. So next up we have The Ones We're Meant to Find and Come Tumbling Down. So Come Tumbling Down is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series, and The Ones We're Meant to Find is a standalone dystopian that is in my top 10. Now for this, although I did really enjoy Come Tumbling Down, The Ones We're Meant to Find really stuck with me after I read it. Like, I still think about that book to this day. So The Ones We're Meant to Find is probably gonna edge out Come Tumbling Down there. The next bracket is a little bit easier for me, because this is Assassin's Apprentice versus Legendborn. Now, Assassin's Apprentice, even though I gave it 5 stars, now having read the first 2 sequels, which are Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest, Assassin's Apprentice was actually the only one I gave 5 stars. And that was because of how much it made me cry, but it kind of lent on a certain trope to make me cry, and it happened several times because of the same trope. I will not say what it is, but Legendborn for me, again, it's one of those ones that stuck with me afterwards. I loved it so much that I was recommending it to everyone, so I am gonna have to pick Legendborn there. Now, when we think about Legendborn versus The Ones We're Meant to Find, it's difficult because they're 2 very different books. Legendborn I flew through in 2 days. I think the ones we're meant to find I also flew through in 2 days. And you also have to think about the times that you read these books during the year. I know exactly where I was, which house I was in, what city I was sitting on when I was reading these books. So again, you have that kind of link to the past and link to the nostalgia of that time. Whether it was a year ago or not, or 6 months ago, I feel in a much happier place when I read the ones we're meant to find. So it may be me being biased and kind of feeling like that, but I think the ones we're meant to find is going to win this one, which again I'm a little bit surprised at, because I've shouted about Legendborn so much this year, but I think the ones we're meant to find is going to win. So moving down, we have The Once and Future Witches and The Winter of the Witch, both with witch in the title, which is quite funny. This again is a little bit hard, but I do kind of have an instant answer, and that is The Winter of the Witch. It is just so masterfully crafted as a finale to a trilogy, especially a fantasy trilogy, that I think The Once and Future Witches, like, even though it was my first 5-star of the year, I was in a really good place when I read it. I was really happy. Winter of the Witch I read here all in one day in this corner. I do think Winter of the Witch is going to win that one, simply because the series as a whole, as well as just this finale on its own, are so well done. And Once and Future Witches, although I love it, I don't have as much of a connection to it as I do to like Vasya and the characters in The Bear and the Nightingale. Moving on down to probably the easiest one I've ever done, and that is Empire of the Vampire versus In an Absent Dream. In an Absent Dream is winning that hands down. I have such a mental and physical, emotional, everything connection to this book. And Empire of the Vampire was only a 5-star really because of the ending. It was definitely going to be a 4 up till then, but the ending kind of came through for me. So that's the only reason that's got a 5-star. It was not in my top 10, so it's kind of being easily beaten out here. If we do In an Absent Dream versus Winter of the Witch, this is now difficult, but again, I do feel a real connection with In an Absent Dream. But am I just like bigging that up in my head is my issue. Am I just like remembering it with rose-tinted glasses? Do I need to reread it to make sure? Because Winter of the Witch is really, really good. It's really good. Like technically and emotionally, it's really good. And In an Absent Dream, where I am emotionally connected to it, I don't know if it's like as technically good from start to finish. This is actually very difficult. I think I might come back to this one. I'm going to move on down to Wondersmith versus Down Among the Sticks and Bones. Now, Wondersmith was very good. I really liked the direction the plot went in and like the different kind of mystery that was happening in this book. Down Among the Sticks and Bones is the second Every Heart a Doorway book. I also really, really loved this one. It's really good. And again, I'm having that emotional connection, even though I do have a real strong emotional connection to Nevermore, the series in general. I feel like the second and third books, I didn't feel a particular pull to either one of them, but the first one has that nostalgic feeling for me. So I think Down Among the Sticks and Bones is going to win this one. Yeah, I agree with that, with myself. Moving down to the last initial bracket, and that is Along the Saltwise Sea versus Black Sun. Now, Along the Saltwise Sea is along the same lines, it's the sequel to Over the Woodward Wall, and I feel the same way about it, or a similar way about it, in that I feel like I've given it 5 stars simply for the emotional connection to middle game. So, and Black Sun was so good that I think Black Sun's gonna have to win that. And if we try and do Black Sun versus Down Among the Sticks and Bones, although I really love Down Among the Sticks and Bones and I love the characters in it, and it is probably in my top 3 Wayward Children books, it would be third obviously, I think Black Sun is going to have to win that, because again, I do still think about Black Sun to this day, like a lot of these books, but some of them do, some of them don't. Black Sun just has a lot going for it, to be honest. I'm really struggling here. I think it's hard having the third of a series there, because if it was the series as a whole there, I think it would have won. against In an Absent Dream, but then the series, The Bear and the Nightingale as a whole, or the Winter Night trilogy as a whole, I think for me would not win against the Wayward Children series. So thinking about that way, I think In an Absent Dream is gonna have to win. And now we can do In an Absent Dream versus The Ones We're Meant to Find, which, I don't know. They're such different books. They really are such different books. I don't think The Ones We're Meant to Find beats Winter of the Witch though. And if Winter of the Witch got beaten by In an Absent Dream, I don't think In an Absent Dream can beat The Ones We're Meant to Find. So we are going to pick In an Absent Dream there. I feel like you all knew this was going this way. And now Black Sun has to automatically win this because there was no extra ones down below. So now we have Black Sun versus In an Absent Dream, which is very hard because even though in my top 10 video, my top 3 was Middle Game, then Every Heart a Doorway series, then Black Sun, I, for a long time, did say that Black Sun was second. It was Middle Game, then Black Sun, then the Every Heart a Doorway series. So, and it was only like really the other day when I had to sit down, write down what my top 10 are and think about it, that I put Black Sun third. So I'm still a little bit on the fence on this one. I think I am probably more hyped for Where the Drowned Girls Go than I am for Fevered Star. I think the ending of Black Sun wasn't quite like that open-ended, like a lot of it was quite wrapped up. But it is so well done. It is really a really good fantasy. But I think In an Absent Dream's gonna have to win. Now, I have to pick between the first and the fourth book. I think we all saw this coming. Honestly, I'm not even sure why I did this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, even though you all knew what was coming in the end. Although maybe you thought Middle Game would be coming in the end, who knows? When it comes to Every Heart a Doorway, the very first book in the series, I loved it so much that I wanted to get a Be Sure tattoo just off the first book. Like, I hadn't read anything else yet. And then the fourth one, just, I feel like the world itself spoke to me so much. The amount of like logic in it really spoke to me. I really felt like a kinship with Lundy and like a kinship with that world, and that would be my favorite type of world to go to. It's difficult because they are two very different books as well. In an Absent Dream is a prequel. It is a straight portal fantasy. Well, it's not straight. There's a lot of queer characters in the series, but it is, you know, your normal portal fantasy. Person goes through a door, they come back out through the door. And then Every Heart a Doorway is very much surrounding a lot of different kids who have gone through the doorways. And it's heartbreaking. It is a heartbreaking series. The way it's written is so masterful. The craft that Shauna Maguire, like the talent that she has, is incredible. I think in the end, when I'm thinking about Lundy going back and forth and like her indecision, I am gonna have to pick In an Absent Dream. In an Absent Dream is my top book in the book battle of 2021. It's In an Absent Dream. And I do feel kind of emotional about that. I do feel kind of happy. A lot of people don't like this series. It is obviously now my favorite series of all time. But I think maybe sometimes I feel a little bit sad that people don't feel the same way, but obviously everything is subjective. Books are subjective. Everyone's opinions are different. I'm not saying that people should agree with me, but it can be actually quite an emotional thing when someone doesn't like your favorite books. The reason I think I've been so blasé about people not liking Sabriel is I haven't actually read Sabriel for about a decade, so I don't feel as close with it as I used to. I may upon reread and then get emotional over again. But seeing people read these and possibly not liking them is actually like, it's heartbreaking for me because I feel such a personal emotional connection to them. I would never ever like tell someone that they've made me sad or whatever over it. That's stupid. But it makes me sad that they didn't see in the book what I saw in the book. But at the same time, obviously this book in particular, In an Absent Dream, was written for me. Like, everyone has a different connection to each book that they read in a different way, and In an Absent Dream just happens to be my book. It feels like this book is me. little bit of a sappy philosophical ending to the video, but if you did enjoy, please do give it a like below. Leave a little tree emoji in the comments if you were here but you didn't really have anything to say but wanted to let me know that you were here. Make sure that you subscribe to get all the future content from me in your inbox. All of my links are in the description, including my Patreon. And if you don't know what goes on my Patreon, then this is what you're missing out on.
Hello, I'm so bored. I feel so restless and I can't concentrate. So what better to do than to just go fucking live, because I need some motivation, I need some help.
Speaking of my Patreon, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone at my deity tier. So that is Becca, Meg, Rachel, Lisa, Lydia, Mercy, Sarah, Tori, Liv, Adinda, Celeste, Britt, Marlus, Kay, Danny, Hannah, William, Andy, Chris, Lauren, Kate, Kendra, Ashley, KW, Frog, and Lynn. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!